What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode. Coach Joe here with Heartletics.com, and I'm really excited to dive into today's episode because we're going to be going over a great mindset technique for you guys. Obviously, you know, I love talking about health and fitness, but so much so that people often forget that the mental side, right, the mental health is the most important, right? It's not the physical habits. It's not, the walking and the strength training and the workouts and the nutrition. Like, that's a great piece of the puzzle, but most importantly, the mental side, right? That's what's going to make you mentally stronger. That's what's going to make you more confident. That's also what's going to help you break any kind of self-limiting beliefs that's just kind of holding you back. So, with that being said, let's dive into today's episode talking about self-reflection. And this is a personal fan favorite of mine that, hands down, I love doing this exercise. Self-reflection. This, once again, is one of my favorite habits to focus on. It's a easy thing that you can do. And obviously, as we progress in today's presentation, you're going to learn that, right? Most of the habits that we go over at Heartletics, whether it's physical habits or whether it's, the mindset habits, they're pretty easy. It's just you have to make sure it's a priority to you. Just like, once again, awareness is like the greater understanding of how all of this kind of applies and when to start doing something more or less in our lives. It needs to be aware, right? It needs to be a priority. For example, like sleep. I always like to use that example. Somebody could be obviously crushing it in the gym with the nutrition and with the training, and they're dialed into those aspects, right? The physical side. Right? But maybe like the sleep, they're not focusing on the recovery, or who knows, maybe they're underneath a lot of stress. They're never going to get the results that they're truly after. And so maybe it's because they're not aware of the importance of, getting better sleep can actually aid in, helping somebody on their fat loss journey. So once again, awareness, right? It's the understanding of the importance of something. So keep that right in mind as we go to today's presentation, is that most of these habits, I want you to just be aware. Right? Be aware of the importance, and then obviously be open-minded to trying them out for yourself and seeing what works best for you to make you feel good about it. Here's going to be a quick little overview. For starters, let's talk about the importance of self-reflection and really what that means. And then obviously let's dive into some exercises that you can obviously start implementing to, who knows, maybe help you with your mindset. Self-reflection is almost like evaluating yourself. It's almost like how you perceive yourself, ranking yourself, and most importantly, internal conversation within yourself. Now, why is this important? Well, how you see yourself is pretty much how others see you as well. If you don't see yourself as confident, and how is anybody else going to see you as confident? I always like to use the story of Roger Bannister, right? The man that ran the first ever mile in under 4 minutes. Now, before he was able to accomplish that, everybody thought it was impossible. In fact, doctors thought that the human heart would actually explode if somebody was able to do that. And sure enough, he was able to complete that, mile in under 4 minutes. And he broke the doubt and self-limiting beliefs of all these other people, right, that got to see him do this, because he proved that it was possible, right? Even though doctors even said it was impossible, the human heart would explode, he didn't let the doubt of others stop him from seeing his fullest potential. And since he was able to accomplish that, mile in underneath 4 minutes, there's been hundreds of people that were able to accomplish that as well after Roger Bannister, because he was the one that set the example. He was the one that broke the self-limiting beliefs. He was the one that proved, hey, it was possible. It can be done. So the reason why self-evaluation and, just going through this self-reflection process of, how you feel about yourself, your internal conversation, everything like that, it matters so much. Because once again, how can you expect anybody to respect you, right, if you don't respect yourself? How can you expect anybody to have confidence in you if you don't have confidence in yourself? Just think about that. You have to learn how to become your own biggest, best friend, honestly. Your biggest cheerleader, your biggest coach, your biggest support system. But also at the same time, you have to be open-minded and you have to be aware, right? That's why I like self-reflection, because, and we're going to go over this here in a little bit, it really helps you put the ego to the side, where you can say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take responsibility for my own actions and realize here, I didn't show up today, right? Self-reflection. I did not show up today as, I could have to be the best version of myself. I didn't do good today. That's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow. But you know what happens when you swallow that pill? Guess what? You push the ego to the side. And right there, that is one step closer to your goals. Because guess what? Instead of, right, let's just say pointing the finger at somebody or, something as to why you couldn't do something or what the reason why, right? Some kind of excuse, right? Always remember this. Anytime you're doing that, literally, whenever you're pointing a finger at somebody, if you just look, right, you have one finger pointing at them, you have three fingers pointing right back at yourself. And that's why I love the self-reflection, because it is a complete form of accountability that you can do. Honestly, it's not a long exercise, and we're going to go into that here in a little bit. But once again, there's such a powerful meaning behind it. I mean, think about it. If let's say you have kids and you're constantly, going, let's say, self-reflection, right, with them, just maybe at the dinner table and talking about school with them. It's like, hey, so, what happened today at school? And maybe they're telling you a story, and then you can get into, okay, so in what ways do you think that we can maybe improve and be better? And then maybe it's going into, okay, so hey, why don't we do a little fun exercise where maybe we evaluate ourselves and rank ourselves, because you have to understand that how our minds work. It's like, that's why we focus a lot on habits at Heartletics, because when you're just like checking the boxes and, you can see that you're progressing, you can see that you're consistent with, it makes it fun. So maybe, who knows, at, the dinner table with you guys and your family, if you have kids, focus on some challenges like that. Quick little, self-reflection challenge with the family. I think that's great. It's just like rank yourself, and evaluate that. And we're going to go into some tips on how to actually do that, at least how I do it, and what has worked for me specifically that I have seen dramatic results from, that I'm really, really blessed and grateful for since I've been doing some of these self-reflection exercises. I love this quote that says, "Time spent in self-reflection is never wasted. It is an intimate date with yourself." And think about that. What happens when you're dating somebody? You're learning about them. Well, how often do you learn about yourself? What is it that you like? What is it that you don't like? But also, what areas of your life that you can make improvements on? We all need to make improvements, right? Myself included. Nobody's perfect, but I think also that that's what makes life fun, is that it's like ways where we can kind of play this video game character of ourselves and figure out, what are these skills, what are these, character traits, and what are these, habits that I can start developing and working on myself. That way, guess what? I can improve. I can level up in life. And that's exactly what leads us into this next quote, which simply says, "Self-reflection is a humbling process. It's essential to find out why you think, say, and do certain things, ... then better yourself." And that's what I want you to focus on. That ... then better yourself. Because let's face the facts here. If we're never taking that time to, reflect on our day, reflect on maybe our relationships, reflect on maybe our just, our mindset, our health, just overall bigger picture here, how can we see areas of improvement if we're never doing that? I mean, it's like you have these blind spots, You can't see the holes. You can't see where, the water is pouring out of the cup, almost because there's a little hole at the bottom. You can't see that. It's like you have to go within. You have to go find that hole. And sometimes that means it's just like working on some of these mindset habits that we like to focus on at Heartletics. And once again, like this self-reflection exercise is just a great tool in order to do so. To just kind of, once again, figuring out what are those holes, figuring out like what are those areas in your life that you can improve on, but most importantly, better yourself. If you want a different life, guess what? You have to have a different mindset. You have to have different habits. You have to, once again, just kind of focus on a different thought pattern, right? And ways on how to improve and get to where you're trying to get to. But if you've never taken that time to kind of realize where are the areas of your life that you need to make improvements on, you're always going to be stuck. Renzo Gracie, who is a mixed martial artist, Brazilian jiu-jitsu expert, he has this quote that I love, and it says that my opponent is my teacher, my ego is my enemy. And I love that, because the ego is the enemy. The ego is the one that honestly says that you don't need to do this self-reflection exercise. This is stupid, right? You don't need to work on gratitude. That's lame. Meditate? You're not a Buddhist monk. You don't need to do that. Like, it's okay. Guess what? That's your ego, right? And that's why we always say this. Hey, if you want to have success in anything in life, be open-minded. Be like a sponge. Absorb everything. But you also have to be realistic to know when to rinse that sponge, right? And basically just, let all the crap get out of you, So that means, hey, be open-minded, absorb everything, but also rinse out what doesn't work for you, what doesn't work for your lifestyle. And the first part of this, right, I really want to do a little deep dive in. So it says, my opponent is my teacher. Let's talk about that opponent, okay? Because obviously he's a mixed martial artist. So, he's fighting against somebody, whether it's a jiu-jitsu tournament, whether it's a, mixed martial arts, fight, whatever the case may be. But I want you to just think about maybe your opponents in your life. And maybe that's, addictions. Maybe that's temptation. Maybe that is, somebody at work that you don't like, or maybe like a boss. Maybe it's just like a challenge and a storm that you're facing right now in your life, or who knows, right? Like there's something going on, a trial, a tribulation, something. I don't want you to think as that as the negative. Honestly, let's just have fun with this. And let's just say, I'll use myself, for example. Let's say I was on my way to the bank, right? Maybe I had to go there, get some money out, whatever the case may be. And let's say on my, drive to the bank, somebody hits me. Their car hits mine, and let's say it was horrible, right? Where I actually got injured. Maybe I broke my arm, So now it's like, dude, somebody just hit my car, potentially totaled it, so I got to do all that. Insurance, hospital now, fixing my arm, and then obviously I'm out of the gym, can't even work out. That sucks, right? But it's like sometimes you don't know that, like, that right there, that's a tribulation. That's a storm. That's a challenge, right? Dealing with this car now, dealing with this broken arm, dealing with, hospital, dealing with stress. Honestly, that sucks. But what if, let's say I was on my way to the bank and nobody hit me. But when I went to the bank, hey, next thing you know, within 5 minutes, bank robbers came in, shot up the place, killed me. What would be a lot worse? I think we could agree me dying is a lot worse than me breaking my arm and totaling my car and being out of commission from the gym for, a couple weeks. I think we can agree on that. So that's why I really want you to think that often, right? When it says my opponent is my teacher, in the midst of a storm, you don't understand that there's a lesson, but when you find the lesson, there's often a blessing, right? You're being taught something. Only if you're open-minded, only if you're thinking it from those lens. The ego is the enemy. The ego is the one that's constantly telling you, right, you don't need this, you got this, it's all under control. And sure, right, like there's a sense of confidence to that, but at a certain point in your life with certain things, you have to be open-minded, right? We see this a lot with health and fitness, right? A lot of guys think like, oh, I know what to do. I know how to get in shape. I just need to cut out my carbohydrates and do a whole bunch of cardio and all this stuff, right? And it's just like, dude, be open-minded, right? Like you're doing the wrong things that's not sustainable for you. And what's the point of doing that if you can't actually commit to it long term? And that's why we always say is like the ego, sure, right? It's a good thing at a time and at a place, but often don't let that distract you from your opponent's challenge, tribulations, storms in life, teaching you a lesson. Because every time you're being taught a lesson in life, once again, there's typically a blessing somewhere. And you just have to figure that out. And I know that's hard to concept, right? I know it's hard to think about, especially if you're in the middle of a storm, right? If you're going through some stress right now in your life, that's tough. It's hard to kind of look at the bigger picture. But once again, like this is where working on your mindset really kind of helps you with this and helps you progress a lot faster. So now let's go over some great self-reflection exercises. And once again, this is what I personally do. So if let's just say this doesn't resonate with you or you don't, get a good feel from it. Let's say you try some of these and you're like, man, it doesn't really vibe with me. Then hey, no sweat at all, right? At the end of the day, any kind of habit, whether it's a physical habit or whether it's a mental habit, you want to focus on something that makes you feel good, right? Because that's something that you can typically be more consistent with. Obviously, if you enjoy doing. Same thing when it comes to, let's say, following a diet, right? If there's a diet that's making you cut out your favorite foods and maybe cut out, let's say, all your carbohydrates and, this stuff in general that you enjoy generally eating, like your favorite foods. Sure, you can stick with it for a few maybe short weeks or months, but it's not going to typically be a long-term success for you, because let's face the facts, it might not be as enjoyable, right? And that's what makes it hard to stick with long-term. So keep that in mind as we go through this. This is what, once again, personally resonates with me, where I can spend anywhere from 5 to maybe 10 minutes, complete this and be done with it. And once again, it helps me, right, in the sense of having the right mindset when it comes to the winner's mindset, I like to say. But most importantly, it's a grading system for myself to just kind of see where areas I can improve on. So the first self-reflection exercise is to simply just write out anywhere from 10 to 20 wins that you had for the day. And this does not have to be like huge wins like, hey, I got a job promotion, or, I bought a new car, or squatted 500 pounds, or no, it doesn't have to be like that at all. This could be something small like doing the dishes or taking the dog for a walk, or, telling your, spouse you love them, something very, very small like that. But what you really want to focus on doing is just collecting these wins. Whether it's, personally for me, what I like to do is in the evening time, I take out my gratitude journal and I just flip the page over, and this is where I write out my wins, right? So I'll write out 10 to 20 wins. You can do more if you want, but 10 to 20 is just a good sweet spot for me. I know some other members at Heartletics that personally they like to just maybe put in their phone or just write down as the course of the day goes on. So that way, if let's say in the evening time comes, they forget those wins that they had, it's very easy to just, okay, how can we just transfer the collective notes that we had from out the wins of the course of the day and then put it down on paper, So once again, do what's ever easier for you. And the reason why you want to do this, especially right before you go to sleep, is because you're looking at the success that you had. Instead of all the things, oh man, like I missed this opportunity, or whatever the case may be, where I didn't, do this to the best I could. You don't want to do that before you go to sleep, right? Remember, you want to get into the subconscious mind where you're really focusing on the wins, and jotting down these wins is going to help you with starting building more confidence, building more self-esteem, having a winner's mindset. So remember, that's the first one, okay? You can either decide to do that or compile all of them into a simple exercise that what I like to do, okay? But the first one is just simply, once again, writing out before you go to sleep 10 to 20 wins. The second, right, and so this is once again, if you want to add this one in right afterwards, is to then evaluate yourself. And once again, this is what I like to do. As far as ranking and evaluating yourself goes, I personally don't have a justification as, okay, hey, if I'm an 8, it's because I followed these, things. If I'm a 7, it's because I followed these things. If I'm a 10, it's because I followed these things. No, just, be honest with yourself. And remember, this is only for you at the end of the day. This is no one else. This is only for you. So be honest with yourself. There might be certain days where I show up and I crush it with my workouts. I crush it with my nutrition. I crush it with work, right? My career. But maybe I lack the family time, where maybe at the dinner table I wasn't fully present. Maybe I wasn't too engaged with the family. So who knows? I might rank myself for that day like a 6 or 7 out of 10. And then there's other days where maybe I feel sick, so I don't give it my all in the gym, but I crush it in all other levels where, I'm fully present with the family. I great quality time with them. As far as my career goes, I showed up for the clients, even though I wasn't really feeling the best. But, who knows? I might rank myself like, an 8 or a 9 because I tried my best, even though I wasn't feeling typically all that well being sick. So remember, any kind of ranking system, just, I would say 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, just simply rank yourself, 1 to 10, that's all. And then the last one is to game plan on how to be better, okay? Not just do better, but most importantly, be better, because that's what you want. So typically how it goes is, once again, evening time, I'll write out my 10 to 20 wins, and then the next line over, just rank myself. How did I do from 1 to 10? Quick little scoring system. And then I kind of just, write out like in ways of how do I be better? So maybe that's ways for me on, let's say if I'm struggling with hitting my protein goal, I might write down, it's like, okay, hey, for me to get a better score at evaluating myself, I know I need to do a better job at hitting my protein because I'm lacking in that, right, for one of my habits. So maybe I should focus on tracking, right? And like getting down some simple like things, right? A routine almost. So I might write down like, okay, tomorrow, make sure, after your workout, you have a protein shake and put 2 scoops of protein in there. And then maybe for lunch, instead of, having, this option, choose something that's a little bit healthier, higher in protein, and then just game plan. You're just writing that out, a simple sentence or two. It's just a strategy plan. And the reason why that's important is because, the next day, if let's say you're using your, journal as a gratitude journal and self-reflection, I mean, that's what I personally do. The next day, as you do, you're writing out your gratitude list, you can then set the intention for the day. That's what I personally do. But think about it. The intention for the day was already set and established the night before after going through this exercise. And remember, none of this stuff, right, it doesn't really take too long at all. It's just simple things to do, right? 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes here and there. But trust me, it's so important because it's getting into your mindset. It's getting you focused on becoming more confident. It's getting you focused on areas of your life where, you can start filling up some of those holes and seeing where it is that you need to do a better job at, plain and simple. So keep this in mind, right? 3 different exercises. You can pick or choose, 1 or 2, or personally, I like to do all 3 because it takes maybe 10 minutes. But with that being said, also, just like how I have been saying, with any habit that you do, you have to find one that works for you. You have to find one that, resonates with you, where it makes you feel better. That's the importance of all the habits. And here's just a quick little recap. So obviously we went over the importance of self-reflection. And just remember that if you don't see yourself, let's say if you don't respect yourself and you don't see yourself as confident, like how can you expect others to see that about yourself? But at the same time, it's going into how can we improve on this? How can we make sure that we are confident? How can we make sure that we are improving on our mindset? How can we are making sure that we are challenging ourselves to push ourselves to become better? That way we can make sure we're helping out those in need as well. And that's where obviously the exercises come into play. And keep in mind, once again, just be open-minded. Give it a try. Figure out what works for you and what makes you feel better, and then have at it. Get this down into where maybe you have a list of, I don't know, like your daily do's. And I know for me, right, the physical habits are great. I definitely strive for those as my daily do's. But the mental habits, those are the real daily do's. Like, hey, I my morning routine, right, I love it. My evening routine, I love it. And I make sure that if I'm, focusing on really trying to become the best version of myself, I got to commit to that, So I highly recommend try out some of these exercises because once again, it will improve your life. So hopefully you guys got some value from today's episode, and just keep in mind, always strive to become the best version of yourself, not just physically, but most importantly, mentally as well. And just remember this. Anytime you're focusing on doing something, whether it's physical habits or whether it's mental habits, you need to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, it just fits in best with you and your lifestyle, right? There's not a one size fits all cookie cutter, thing for anybody out there. You really need to focus on, hey, if let's say you're doing a self-reflection exercise, whether it's writing down your wins or, evaluating yourself and ranking yourself at the end of the day, well, do it because it makes you feel good. And that's why I do it. That's why I do most of these, habits for the physical and also, the mental as well, where I want to make sure it's making me feel good. Just like going for a walk in the park makes me feel good. When I focus on gratitude and meditation, it makes me feel good. So with self-reflection, it makes me feel good. When I'm writing down my wins, I'm ranking myself. I'm also setting the intentions on how can I just improve and just be better, Strive to being the best, that 1% better each and every day. And that's what we focus on at Heartletics, where it's like, hey, how can you fill up your cup? That way you can pour out more into others. Maybe your family, maybe your friends, maybe your coworkers, whatever the case may be, and you just got to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, once again, it's making you feel good. It's something that you can enjoy and obviously see, improvements with it. You can progress with over time. But most importantly, it's something that you can be consistent with. So once again, hopefully you guys got some value. Try it out for yourself, and obviously let me know your thoughts. And, who knows? Maybe if you have a certain, mindset habit that you like to focus on, and let's just say it's something that maybe I haven't heard of, then let me know, because I'm open-minded, right? I always like to say, like, I'm still a student Always trying to learn. Every single day, I'm looking for ways to just improve myself, right? And acquire, right? And that's one of the habits that we like to go over, right? Is gaining more knowledge. So if you happen to figure out, hey, I enjoy this, it makes me, mentally sharper, or makes me physically better at reaching my goals, and it's something that maybe, we don't go over at Heartletics, or it's not one of our, 7 fat loss habits or 7 mindset habits, then by all means, let me know, right? Don't keep those secrets to yourself, right? Share those golden nuggets with everybody. And with that being said, this has been Coach Joe with Heartletics.com. And as always, I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Peace out, Girl Scouts.